Before I get into this video, I want to add some context. This video was actually recorded on the very first day that Modern Warfare 3 Zombies released. I was of course using a New Zealand copy, so I got to play it a bit early. Since recording this video, my opinions on Modern Warfare 3 Zombies have improved a lot, and I am actually looking quite forward to the future of the mode because it seems like there are many quality of life improvements and many returning features from both DMZ and Outbreak that should have really been present there on launch that will slowly be getting drip-fed throughout Season 1 and beyond for Modern Warfare 3 Zombies. And the reason why this video has taken so long to come out is obviously because it's over an hour long, and because of that, it's taken a long time to get wrapped up. And whilst my opinions of the mode have improved since recording this initial video, I still stand by pretty much all of the points that I make within this video. All of my criticisms and things that I don't like, I still stand by, and that is why I am still publishing it. However, when you are listening to the video, I think the context of the fact that this was recorded on the very first day of Modern Warfare 3's release is very important, since there are some minor things that I mentioned that are kind of outdated now. Overall though, like I said, I still stand by most of the points, but I am hopeful for the future of the mode, and it does seem like it will improve a lot. And if I was to re-record this video right now, I would still have all of the criticisms. However, I think I would be less harsh on my judgments and approach them through a more hopeful lens. With that said, I don't really disagree with anything strongly in this video, but just keep that context in mind that this was recorded on the very first day. The community sentiment regarding the mode as well has drastically improved since I initially recorded it. My opinion, on the other hand, although it has marginally improved, I am not in love with the mode like a lot of other people have become. It seems like some people just really enjoy that grind of just farming the schematics, doing the missions over and over again, but to me, I just find that whole process tedious, and I love the jump in and play aspect of Zombies, which is what I go on to talk about in this video. And it does seem like in order to get enjoyment out of this mode, you need a lot of time on your hands to grind these schematics and farm them over and over again and complete all 3 of the acts. Right now I'm finding myself having a lot more limited time to play the game like I've had in the past, and so it feels very tedious when I'm having to work through all of the missions, especially because most of them are just doing the generic stuff that you would normally be doing on the mode, and it's clear that Treyarch have made you do this so that it's for new players so they can learn the different mechanics of the mode by going through these missions. But as someone who's pretty familiar, it just feels like I'm having to do things I would just normally be doing in the game anyways, but because you can't be doing multiple missions at once, you're ending up having to do things you've already done in prior games many times, which I find a bit frustrating. Anyways, with that being said, like I said, understand the context, but I still stand by almost all of these points, but I am more hopeful and I am enjoying the mode more so than when I initially recorded this, but still agree with pretty much all of the points, and I'm really looking forward to COD 2024 Zombies and can't wait for that, as I'm kind of viewing this mode as a bit of a filler year until then. Also, I do want to say that please bear in mind that these are just my opinions, and you are entitled to your own opinions. So if you disagree, there's no reason to get angry at me or anything like that. We are all always going to have different opinions, we're all different people, and that's totally fine. Anyways, with that being said, enjoy the video and kind of just treat this video as a bit of a podcast discussion. Since it is so long, there's not going to be any major editing, just something you can listen to in the background. Also, let me know once you finish the video, do you agree with what I say? I assume that there's going to be many that disagree, but there's going to be many that agree too, especially because this was recorded when it released, so it's a bit outdated. Anyways, I'll shut up now, I'm rambling quite a lot. Enjoy the review. Does Modern Warfare 3 Zombies suck? That is a question that a lot of people are asking right now, especially if you are yet to purchase the game and you have just been watching early gameplay and you're kind of unsure what it is all about. Well, in this video, I want to share my own personal opinion from playing the mode for over 8 hours, and I've put a decent amount of time with playing with other people as well as playing solo, so I can share my perspectives on how it is playing either way. I also want to say that this is coming from the perspective of someone who played DMZ very little. I was really looking forward for DMZ before it came out. However, as soon as it came out, I played it a very little amount, and I realized that the mode just isn't for me. I think that extraction shooters are just not something that I'm ever going to be fond of, and I really struggle to see the point of these modes, and much prefer jump in and play experiences. However, I was a massive fan of Outbreak in Black Ops Cold War Zombies. Whilst I don't think it was the perfect mode by any means, I think that it was a really good first start by Treyarch into dipping their toes into an open world zombies experience, and considering Modern Warfare 3 Zombies is supposed to be a hybrid of Outbreak as well as DMZ, I was hoping that those things that I liked about Outbreak I would be able to get the same enjoyment out of Modern Warfare 3 Zombies. However, after playing the mode, it is very apparent that this mode is about 85% 25% DMZ, and about 15% Outbreak. The only elements that are similar to Outbreak is the fact that, of course, you're playing on a large Warzone map or a Battle Royale map, and the objectives / contracts are very similar to the ones that were in Outbreak as well, and a lot of the bosses and enemies are very similar too, but other than that, that's about the only similarities to Outbreak. Everything else is pretty much exactly like how it is in DMZ. This mode functions exactly like DMZ, however, there's no longer human AI, and instead there are zombies, and immediately off of the bat, this makes the mode a million times better in my opinion, because of course I'm a zombies fan, and a big part of why I didn't like DMZ is I find human AI soldiers so incredibly boring. And I think that the co-op modes in Call of Duty should always be otherworldly experiences, whether that's zombies or like Extinction that Infinity Ward tried with in Call of Duty Ghosts. We have humans in the campaign and the multiplayer, and it should stay there. Try something a bit more unique and exciting for the co-op mode. Now, straight off the bat, if you didn't enjoy DMZ and you didn't enjoy Outbreak, you are not going to enjoy this mode. If you are only looking for round-based zombies, there is nothing here for you unless they add something post-launch. But as it is, you will not enjoy this mode at all. And I'm someone who didn't enjoy DMZ, but did enjoy Outbreak. So what is my perspective? I think that this mode is extremely mediocre, and honestly, that's even putting it lightly. I think that this mode is extremely boring. And boring is worse than bad. I don't think that the mode is bad by any means. It's tolerable, but a mode shouldn't be tolerable. It should be exciting. I should be enthralled to want to hop on at all moments, but the longer I have played it for, the more bored I have become. And in general, I don't think the mode is amazing. I don't think it's terrible either. I think the mode is just okay, but to me, okay is not enough, especially after Vanguard. When I first booted up the game and I first started playing it, because everything was brand new, I was finding enjoyment. However, the longer I have played it for, it's gotten so repetitive, exfilling over and over again. It's just such a boring mode, and that's to put it lightly. Now, compared to Vanguard Zombies, this is a much more complete experience and a much more complete package. There's a lot more to this mode than what Vanguard Zombies launched with Dur and Fang. That was bare bones of bare bones. This has a lot more to it, but like I said before, it suffers from just being extremely bland and boring. And to show just how similar this mode is to DMZ, they couldn't even be bothered to update the user interface and the menus, and DMZ beta literally appears in the corner many times. And yeah, in my own personal opinion, I don't think Modern Warfare 3 is worth $70 at all. I think it's one of the blandest Call of Duty games we have ever received. The campaign was very bland with very poor storytelling. I've already made a whole video talking about that, and now the zombies is once again a very bland experience just on the Warzone map, and multiplayer is just remastered maps only on launch from the original Modern Warfare 2, and multiplayer fans seem to be really enjoying this game because Sledgehammer Games have made a load of much needed changes to the gameplay philosophy that Infinity Ward had with last year's game, Modern Warfare 2. But this game does not constitute $70 at all in my opinion, because the campaign offering is subpar, the zombies offering is subpar, and multiplayer is just remasters. No matter how good the gameplay decisions are, at the end of the day, you're paying for just remasters, not a fully fledged brand new game with a unique setting, unique environments. Now recently, Bloomberg have came out with an article talking about the behind the scenes of this game and how it was originally supposed to be DLC for Modern Warfare 2, and it was supposed to be a very small DLC where the campaign was supposed to originally be taking place in Mexico. It would have been a lot shorter than we ended up receiving, even though it's still very short, and the multiplayer would have still been just the Modern Warfare 2 maps remastered, but Infinity Ward would have been in charge of the gameplay decisions. So in that sense, it's better that Sledgehammer Games are in control now. So I don't blame Sledgehammer Games or any of the developers themselves for Modern Warfare 3 turning out to be a very lackluster and basic experience, because apparently Activision executives and Infinity Ward executives were commanding them to basically make this game in around a year and a half. They didn't have a full development cycle. They were pulled off of Vanguard to start working on this game, and that's why Vanguard's post-launch fell off the bridge. And they were promised apparently during Vanguard's development that they won't have to make a game in a very short period of time, because Vanguard was similarly developed in a very short time period, because they were originally working on Black Ops Cold War, but they were pulled off that project and Treyarch took over that game. So it's not the developers' fault at all. This is clearly an Activision issue, a higher-ups issue where they're mistreating their developers. They just want to make the best product possible, and unfortunately, the higher-ups have a tight rope around their neck, and they're working insane overtime, working weekends and nights all of the time just to get the games ready in time, because they're under such intense crunch, Call of Duty just shouldn't release every single year. It needs to move to every other year, where in between, like was planned for Modern Warfare 2, we get a smaller expansion. And I know in that gap year, because Call of Duty has become such an annual tradition, it'll feel weird and it might feel a bit more boring than we're used to, but that'll be better for the developers and that'll be better for the end products and also their health, which is more important. And then zombies, I guess zombies was never originally meant to be a part of this expansion, and it was probably tagged on at some point. According to Treyarch, they said they were ahead of schedule on this mode and it was originally planned for Call of Duty 2024 Zombies. However, they pushed it forward a year because it was so ahead of schedule. Now, I find that statement to be very inaccurate, because if they were so ahead of schedule, this mode wouldn't have launched in such a boring state, and it doesn't even have a main Easter egg on launch. If they were so ahead of schedule, those things would be there. So here's what I think had probably happened. Treyarch were working on COD 2024 Zombies, which is going to be the return to Round-Based. So Round-Based fans, you've got a year to wait. Hopefully that game smashes out of the park after we've had 2 lackluster Zombies experiences, Vanguard and Modern Warfare 3. And then I think they were also working on a sequel to Outbreak. However, at some point, I think that Activision higher-ups realized that they wanted to turn this Modern Warfare 2 expansion into a full-on game, and then they forced Treyarch to take this Outbreak mode, merge it with DMZ elements, and that is what we have ended up receiving. I think initially it wasn't going to be DMZ Zombies, it was going to be a proper sequel to Outbreak, and I hope next year with COD 2024 Zombies, we actually get that proper sequel to Outbreak, because I think that's what Treyarch were initially working on, and I've actually heard from behind the scenes that apparently this is quite true. Apparently, Treyarch were actually working on just a standard version of Outbreak, and that's what this mode was. However, at some point higher-ups around a year ago told them to turn it into a DMZ hybrid, and that's what we've ended up receiving. And I just really hope that that Outbreak sequel is still in the pipeline for next year, because when Modern Warfare 3 Zombies was leaked before the initial announcement, it was described as being Outbreak 2.0. However, now we've actually got to play it, it has very little in common with Outbreak. The gameplay loop is so different from what Outbreak was, and it's just DMZ. And whilst Outbreak did have its issues, I think that there was so much good about the mode, and I really enjoyed how they combined the sandbox elements with a more traditional round-based style of gameplay, but you could only progress via completing the objectives, and I always wanted to see a sequel to Outbreak where you could play on the full Warzone map instead of just sections, and then be able to complete them and do side objectives, side Easter eggs at my own pace. And I think that this mode would be perfect for that if they just basically removed the DMZ elements. If there was no forced exfil, if you couldn't bring items into a future game, and you had an infinite amount of time to work with, this mode would be a lot of fun, because you could get prepared to go into the tier 3 zone in any one game. And I wish that there was 2 versions of the mode. Now, of course, they would probably have to tweak more things than that to make it more of a mode, but I really wish there was a DMZ variant and then a more traditional normal Outbreak variant. Because whilst I loved Outbreak, it was flawed, and those flaws were only because I saw so much room for innovation with the mode, because it was Treyarch's first attempt, and I saw so much room for them to improve on it, and they've improved on it with some features in Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, but it's kind of been held back because the gameplay loop of DMZ just isn't as enjoyable. And the thing is, Modern Warfare 3 Zombies provides exactly what I wanted from a sequel to Outbreak in terms of much larger zombie hordes, in terms of the map not having a lot of empty space, and being able to play on the full Warzone map now instead of just sections. However, I just think that the gameplay loop itself is so different though, and I would have much preferred an infinite mode more akin to the original Outbreak, with no exfil loot shooter elements at all. And this mode is so close to being that, they could definitely restructure the systems already established here for an infinite mode and a true successor to Outbreak. Without any of the DMZ elements, the DMZ elements are what ruin this mode for me. All of these attributes on its own are really fun, and I would have loved to see them in the original Outbreak. At the same time though, I feel like Outbreak had a lot better objectives, they were a lot clearer, identified on the map, and it even had more side Easter eggs, at least by the time that the mode had all of its updates, and I know by the time that this mode has all of its updates, there'll be a lot more objective side Easter eggs to do, but you would think they would start from the groundwork that Outbreak established with everything Outbreak had from the start, and it feels like in order for this mode to get to the point where there is as much to do as there was in Outbreak by the end, it'll take quite a while, and it should be that way from the get-go. Now, the expectations from the community for Call of Duty 2024 Zombies are insane, because this will be the longest wait ever, because Treyarch have apparently had 4 years to work on this game in between Black Ops Cold War. Now, of course, they've been pushed off of that project to work on other projects like Modern Warfare 3 Zombies Zombies and Vanguard Zombies and ranked play, and this is really concerning to me. I personally think Modern Warfare 3 Zombies and Vanguard Zombies should have never released, and Treyarch should have just been focused on making sure COD 2024 Zombies is as good as possible, and that's why I don't buy Treyarch's words that they were ahead of schedule on this mode, and so they just pushed it forward to Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, because that doesn't make any sense. If you are ahead of schedule on a mode, you're not just like, oh wait, why don't we just pull this mode from the main game we were working on and have it in another developer's game? That doesn't make any sense. The order clearly came from higher ups at Activision. Treyarch wouldn't have made this decision. They would have wanted to focus on their own game, and if they were ahead of schedule, there's always more things that they can develop. They should be working on refining the mode even more and adding even more features, working on even more maps, instead of then pulling the mode into Modern Warfare 3. Like I said, it makes no sense and I don't buy it at all. Now let's talk about the mode itself, because when Modern Warfare 3 Zombies was initially revealed, I made a very emotional video talking about the mode and how I thought it was going to suck, and I outlined a bunch of reasons as to why I thought it was going to suck in that video, and in the comments everyone was typing away like, you are jumping to conclusions way too quickly, you can't make such predictions and judgments before actually being able to play it for yourself. And I did agree with that sentiment. In fact, I said similar as such in the video itself. I said maybe when I actually get to play it I'll fall in love with it, and I really hoped that would be the case. However, now I've gotten to play it, I think almost all of my criticisms and all of my concerns that I discussed in that video are true. I think almost every single one of the things that I was worried about are true. So to all of those people who were saying I was jumping to conclusions way too quickly, you are wrong. I've now gotten a chance to play it. I've played it for a considerable amount of hours, and the mode is marginally better than what I was expecting. I did have some fun, like I said, when I first jumped in. The longer I've gotten to play it though, the more boring it's gotten. And now I feel like, once again, this is just another filler year. I'm just waiting for Call of Duty 2024 Zombies yet again, and Treyarch are having to waste their development time and resources on this lackluster mode instead of focusing on that game. And now I'm so worried because our hopes and expectations for COD 2024 Zombies are just completely unreachable and unfathomable. Because it has been such a long gap between Cold War Zombies and COD 2024 Zombies, we are expecting so much more content than we've ever gotten before. We're expecting so much innovation more than we've ever gotten before. We're expecting so much more replay value than any of the prior games, but Treyarch actually haven't been able to work on this game consistently because they've been pulled off to work on games like Modern Warfare 3 Zombies. And so I think community expectations for this next game are so unreachable now and completely humanely impossible for Treyarch to ever reach. Okay, so let's go through Modern Warfare 3 Zombies' gameplay itself and as to why I think it's very lackluster and boring. First of all, this mode should be free to play. If it was free to play, I think we would be critiquing it very, very differently, because there's a different standard for free to play experiences compared to that of a full $70 release. And for me, I mainly only buy Call of Duties for Zombies, so this is the main offering that I was wanting to jump into, and it certainly wasn't worth that price tag, so I would be a lot less harsh on it if it was free to play. And what sucks the most is that DMZ was free to play, and this mode is literally the exact same thing, just with zombies, and that is it. So it really should be free to play. Treyarch just seem to be getting shafted all of the time. For example, they worked on Blackout, the first Battle Royale experience for Call of Duty, and that wasn't free to play. It was bundled as a part of Black Ops 4 because they cut the campaign for that game, so they needed to make up for it with an additional installment. And similarly with Modern Warfare 3, the reason it isn't free to play like DMZ is because of the fact that they need to complete the full Call of Duty package for Modern Warfare 3. Because it had such a short development cycle, they basically scraped together a campaign in a very short period of time, because it was originally supposed to be in Mexico, probably half the time of what we ended up receiving. They reskinned Las Almas to then be Urzikstan, and then they probably siphoned in the open combat missions because they are probably easier to develop than the standard Call of Duty missions, and on reused Warzone map locations. Then the multiplayer is just remastered maps, but then they needed a co-op mode, and so they got Treyarch to push over their mode they were working on for COD 2024 Zombies and merge it with Outbreak. They need a co-op mode to complete that full Call of Duty package, whether it was Spec Ops like we got in Modern Warfare 2, which, you know, was again very mediocre, or like we got a very rushed Zombies experience in Vanguard, because again, Treyarch probably were only forced to work on that about 5 months or a few months before release. They had very little time. Both Vanguard as well as Modern Warfare 3 were scraped together in less than a year and a half by Sledgehammer Games and all of the other studios assisting. And I just really hope that Modern Warfare 3 Zombies' development just doesn't doesn't take a lot away because Vanguard was so bad, and I don't think Modern Warfare 3 Zombies is quite as bad, but it's still very mediocre. And the problem is the fans, the community, don't know the behind the scenes of what goes on with the developers. Yes, there are leaks that come out and there are inside stories that come out, like I mentioned the Bloomberg story earlier. However, it's only us, the hardcore community, that really hears that stuff. The casual community that just hops on every now and again, they're not really engaged online and don't keep up with all Call of Duty news, they're not going to know the behind the scenes as to who is at fault. They're just going to see two poor Zombies experiences by Treyarch in a row and just think that they don't have it anymore. They don't have that special spark that they used to, and so their reputation will go down the drain. So when COD 2024 Zombies swings around, the lots of fans will have just dipped out. They won't even be engaged anymore. They'll never watch a Call of Duty trailer again. They just won't even be a part of the community because they have been so disenfranchised by the last two games. Now, the biggest problem with Modern Warfare 3 Zombies is I just don't really understand who this mode is even made for, and this is the exact same thing that I said within my rant video when the mode was first announced, and I still stand by this statement because right now the mode is receiving a lot of backlash from DMZ fans because DMZ fans just want to see DMZ continued and not Modern Warfare 3 Zombies. They want to see DMZ on this Urzikstan map. For some weird reason, they prefer fighting human AI as opposed to zombies, and I just don't understand that at all. Humans are so boring, like I said earlier. I don't know why anyone would prefer that experience, but they like, I guess, the more realistic experience that DMZ provides as opposed to Modern Warfare 3 Zombies. I don't really get it, but to each your own. But then Zombies fans are also not happy because they either want to see Zombies back or they want to see a true sequel to Outbreak. Now, there are some Zombies fans, and I'm sure there's people in the comments that do enjoy this mode, and if you are one of them, have your enjoyment. I'm not trying to take that away from you. However, I'm just explaining why I personally don't enjoy the mode. And I have seen that some Outbreak fans do like DMZ Zombies. However, a lot of Outbreak fans also don't, and that's the problem. This mode really doesn't know who it's trying to cater towards. It's not pleasing DMZ fans, it's not pleasing round-based Zombies fans, and it's not even really pleasing a lot of Outbreak fans. I am one of them. So who exactly is this mode for? And especially because DMZ fans really enjoyed the PvP element that DMZ has, and especially what we've seen recently with the Halloween event in DMZ. Fighting those bosses was so much fun, but it was made so much more annoying because you were just getting raided by enemy teams. And right now a lot of DMZ fans are calling for PvP to be added into Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, and as a Zombies fan, no, stay the hell away. PvP does not belong in this mode at all. I already think that this mode isn't the greatest thing ever. If there was PvP in this mode, my god, would it be absolutely terrible. Can you imagine trying to do anything on this map whilst also having to worry about other teams taking you out? That would be so frustrating. This is Zombies, there should only be Zombies, and that's that, period. If they want to do PvP, do it as another mode, do it as a side mode. They can have two versions, one with PvP and one without, but certainly do not tamper with the main experience. Now, not only does this mode really not know who it is catering towards in terms of actual player bases, I don't think it even really knows if it's catering towards casual players or hardcore players, because it seems like they're trying hard with this mode to introduce casuals, because obviously if you're just in the outskirts of the map, you can just chill there, rank up weapons, grind out camos, and have a chill time, nothing too serious. But if you want to do anything meaningful, you need to play the game a lot. You really need to grind this mode, and I don't think casuals would enjoy doing that. And overall, Modern Warfare 3 Zombies has been very dividing. It's kind of split the Zombies community even more. It's fractured it even more than it already was before. We have various different sub-factors, those that just want round-based, those that usually just play multiplayer or Warzone that are loving this, those that like all the modes, those that just like the original Outbreak but not this. The Zombies community has never been more divided, ever. And I also think that casuals would struggle to see the point of this mode. I struggle to see the point even. It's not like round-based where you have a very clear set objective, which is spawn in, kill zombies, progress rounds. So simple. Even Outbreak was so simple. Spawn in, search around the map, get some loot, do an objective, progress the round, the zombies get harder. With Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, there's no real clear objective. Outbreak was good because there was a clear objective, whilst it also had a lot of sandbox elements as well. Modern Warfare 3 Zombies is pure sandbox. It's, I think, way too open towards what you are able to do in your game, and I wish that there was a more clear objective. I wish, like I said, this wasn't DMZ Zombies and this was just a sequel to Outbreak, because I think that the extraction shooter gameplay loop is so repetitive and boring. And I've seen so many people saying, well, running around in circles on freaking round-based is boring. Like, have you even played round-based? That isn't what it is. You can do so much on the map, and even then you are immersed in the uniqueness of the map itself, like Shadows of Evil, like Mob of the Dead. You're not just running around in circles, and doing the Easter egg in itself and speedrunning that over and over again has its whole community and scene. Round-based is by no means just running around in circles, and even then there's still a lot of that can be done in Modern Warfare 3 zombies. It's just way bigger hordes, but it's still just, you know, circling around zombies. It's not that different. The thing is, round-based is just so easy for casual fans to get into because it has such a simple and clear objective. Like I said, you literally just spawn in, immediately jump into the action. Now, obviously, with the round-based maps, they started getting way too complicated, so that, you know, to get the wonder weapons and to do the little Easter eggs, to just be able to survive on the map required you looking up a billion different YouTube tutorials. But by the time we got to Cold War Zombies, they stripped a lot of that back to make it a lot more introductory to new players and refined a lot of their systems. But with Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, I really think people are going to struggle to find the purpose and the point of this mode, at least if you're a Zombies fan. If you're a DMZ fan and you've played DMZ religiously, you'll know exactly what to do with this mode because it's exactly the same. But if you've not really played DMZ much or not at all, and you're just a Zombies fan who wants to try this out and you weren't really interested in DMZ because it was humans, like I said, you're going to struggle to find the point, and I struggled to find the point with DMZ, and that's why I just never even bothered playing it for the whole year. And now DMZ is leaking into zombies and ruining this experience as well. So yeah, I really think that people will just use Modern Warfare 3 Zombies as a casual way for them to just rank up weapons and grind out camos, and that's it. I think after people have exfilled a few times, they're just not really going to see much point in continuing to do so, especially because there's no Easter egg on launch to even complete. And of course they have the missions to complete, but again, they seem quite boring and seem quite repetitive, and that's basically how you unlock the storyline so far, whilst we are waiting for the main Easter egg, and we don't even know when the main Easter egg is being added. Treyarch have said that it's coming post-launch at some point, but it's probably not going to be in Season 1, otherwise they would have announced it already. So when is it going to come? We don't know. And why is this even becoming a tradition now that Zombies launches without Easter eggs? Well, it has side Easter eggs, but in terms of a main Easter egg, there's none. And why is this becoming tradition? It happened first with Black Ops Cold War, where Outbreak of course launched without a main Easter egg. However, we could excuse that because it was such a different mode and such a different experience that Outbreak was being drip-fed content over and over again, and it got better and better as the updates continued, and by the time that Season 6 swung around, Outbreak was a billion times better than when it first released. And we could also excuse Outbreak not launching with a main Easter egg because literally just a few weeks prior, Firebase Z released with a main Easter egg, so we were so close to that releasing, it wasn't that big of a deal. And Outbreak did also get 2 main Easter eggs too during its life cycle, which helped, I guess, make up for that wait too. So I think the first time this happened, it was fine, and I am totally okay with us getting multiple main Easter eggs on maps. But then Vanguard released, it had no main Easter egg, and then it didn't release for ages, and then when it finally did come on Durham Fang, it wasn't even a proper Easter egg, it was just listening to radios. And then Terra Maledicta released again, it was a very basic Easter egg, and then finally we got Shinonuma Reborn, which was a decent Easter egg, and then we got Terra Maledicta, which was a decent Easter egg as well, and that's pretty much all that game had to offer. It basically only had 2 main Easter eggs. Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, like I said, you get these beautiful cutscenes when you unlock the missions, and there is going to be a big worm boss fight when you complete Act 3, which people should be completing around now, but it's just not on the same level as a main Easter egg. I appreciate that at least we have something to tell the story before the main Easter egg is added, but as it currently is, you can't keep launching Zombies without main Easter eggs. This is a big thing that people are very interested in, even if a lot of people don't complete them in-game themselves. You know, they look up other people's tutorials and YouTube videos and they have fun watching them play, and that's how they gauge the storyline, and that keeps them more engaged with the mode itself. The Easter egg hunts are a big part of Zombies, where everyone comes together, and Zombies is really losing that aspect. Now let's go over some actual critiques of the Modern Warfare 3 Zombies gameplay itself. So first of all, I think that the Urzikstan map is way too big. I think it is very difficult to find things on the map. Every time you pull up the TAC map, it seems so difficult just to be able to locate where a perk machine is that you want to go to, for example. I think the problem with navigating the map as well is, especially with a controller, it's a lot slower. It seems a lot easier if you're on PC with a keyboard and mouse. Well, I guess you can use a keyboard and mouse on console as well, but most people use controllers. And I find myself every time I'm pulling up the TAC map, I immediately start getting raided by zombies, and it doesn't even give me a chance to really locate the perks. And because the map is so big, the perk locations are so spread out, it's so difficult to find them, and I find that a big portion of the gameplay on this map is just running around looking for perks, or going to the Pack-a-Punch machine, or going to a buy station, or whatever the case may be. And I think that the icons for the perks on the TAC map, and just the icons in general, are way too small. So there's two changes that I think need to be made to this. A, the TAC map needs to be overhauled, so all of the perk locations, the Pack-a-Punch locations, anything important like that needs to be bigger. And I don't know how they're going to do this, because the problem is there's so many icons on the map, they have to make them small just for everything to fit on, but as they currently are, they are so ridiculously small. Now, of course, depth perception helps you see things in the distance, but not that far in the distance. The map is so big, depth perception is not really going to help you that much. I think they just need to add, so when you are playing this mode, it'll just show you the nearest perks, you know, within the nearest 100 meters or whatever. I don't know. I think a lot of icons should just be showing up, directing you towards places. And I also think that they need to add a bunch more perk locations on the map, and even some more Pack-a-Punch locations, because as it currently is, it just takes way too long to be running all over the map to try and find these perks. And as it is, I believe multiple perks can actually spawn in on the map. I've seen Juggernog spawn in, you know, in a couple different locations, for example. It doesn't seem like every single perk will have at least 2 spawns, but some of them, every single game seems to have multiple spawns. But I think they need to add way more spawns than there currently are. And currently there is a Wonder Fizz machine that's more expensive. However, it's only in the tier 3 zone, so it's very difficult to get to. I think they need to change the Wonder Fizz so it's in the tier 2 zone, and I think they need to add multiple Wonder Fizzes on the map. So just have one in tier 3, have one in tier 2, because like I said, right now it just takes way too long to just be looking all over the map. And speaking of being able to traverse across the map, and I also think that way too little vehicles spawn around the map. I pull up my TAC map all the time to see the nearest vehicle, and it always just feels like it's forever away, and that's why it also feels way more difficult to traverse around the map, because it would be a lot easier if there were just way more vehicles, because then you could get around so much quicker to get to the perk locations, to get to Pack-a-Punch, etc. So I think that definitely needs to be changed. And another thing I don't understand with this mode is that for some weird reason the vehicles have gas, and this is a feature that's been in Warzone, and I don't really understand it. Why do you need to go refilling gas after literally a few minutes? Cars and any vehicles for that matter can last hours and hours. It doesn't make any sense why you need to do that. I can understand for repairing your vehicle, but it just makes no sense to have to go and refill them, especially when the spawns for the vehicles are so low. This just adds a further tedious thing to the mode, and also they get damaged by the zombies way too quickly. Your car wouldn't get completely destroyed after running over like 10 zombies or whatever in real life. They should have a lot more health. Now, right now, all of the perks just cost 2,000 essence or points, which I think is really good. Definitely if they costed more, especially with how slow it takes to gain points in this mode, it would have been impossible to get perks. I think that the perks and the Pack-a-Punch price are both reasonable, with Pack-a-Punch being 5,000 in tier 1, 10,000 in tier 2, 15,000 in tier 3, and I also don't mind that there's different tier Pack-a-Punches in each different difficulty zone. I think that is nice, but I do think that there should be more Pack-a-Punch spawns around the map, maybe a couple in tier 2 and then just have one in tier 3. Why should a big part of the gameplay loop for this mode literally just be running about trying to look for stuff? This is why this mode feels so boring and so repetitive, because it feels like you're just running around all of the time trying to look for stuff. And I also think they need to increase the amount of perk cans you can find around the map, because before launch, the YouTubers who played early said that they were apparently finding loads around the map, and it was so easy to just collect the perks without needing to actually go to the perk machines. However, it seems like they've decreased the spawn rate since they actually played, because they don't spawn in nowhere near enough, in my opinion. You of course often get them for completing contracts and stuff like that, but again, it just doesn't feel like they are spawning in nowhere near enough to me. Now, this is a bit of an interjection into the video. Like I said at the start, obviously this was recorded on launch day. At the time, we had discovered the portals on the map. That could obviously be a shortcut to get to different locations on the map, and this is a good way to travel, because you can just shoot different codes into these portals to go to anywhere on the map that you want. However, I don't really like this system at all, because it requires you to pull up a map to see where all of the portal locations are, because there are lots of them, and then also pull up diagrams for each of the portals to see which code you need to shoot to go to where you want to go on the map. So whilst this is a system so that you can travel easily, it's not one that's ideal. No one's really going to memorize all of these portal locations. They may know some of them, but they're probably not going to memorize all of them, especially not all of the codes, so it's going to be constantly requiring you to pull up a map. And I thought this is what Treyarch are trying to move against with zombies, with having to use external things. That's why they've been making the Easter eggs easier and stuff like that, because they don't want players to need to pull up YouTube videos or need to pull up external information to just be able to play the mode. I personally think there needs to be some sort of alternative to these portals to traverse the map. I don't know if they just need the regular portals that spawn in the map that allow you to redeploy. Just have loads of them all over the map. That way you can redeploy to different locations. I'm not really sure how they can get away with this, but I think there needs to be a different system that works functionally similar to the portals, but is easier for the player and doesn't require you to pull up tutorials. Like, I don't know if when you go to one of these portals on screen, some sort of annotation shows up on the screen that directly tells you which code to input to take you where. I personally think that is necessary. I don't want to have to be pulling up maps just to be able to traverse the map easier. And honestly, I found myself not really using these portals at all because I can't be bothered to do this. And I think most players as well, especially casuals, just won't utilize these portals at all, or they'll just shoot in random codes and end up in a random location on the map and not directly where they want to go. The next big problem with the mode is the big thing, the 60-minute countdown. So as it currently is, of course, you can only play for 60 minutes. At 45 minutes in the game, the ether storm will begin expanding, and then it will be prompting you and pushing you towards the exfil, and eventually there'll only be one exfil point, which will be the final exfil, and you need to exfil in time, otherwise you will lose all of your items in your game. Right now, I think that the timer, just like I predicted, is completely pointless, and like I said, this is a problem with the merging zombies with DMZ. Cold War Zombies introduced exfilling, and it was so much fun, but you could exfil every 5, 10, 15 rounds or whatever. You could exfil when you wanted, both in round-based and Outbreak. It did not force you to end the game. And right now, it feels like the way Modern Warfare 3 Zombies works is by the time you are prepared and ready enough to go into the tier 3 zone, that's when the game starts ending. And it is just not enough time. I think that they should extend this to at least 2 hours even, but honestly, I think they should get rid of the timer entirely and just have it as an optional thing if you want to exfil. There is no need for this timer, and this is the problem with them merging it with a bad mode like DMZ. It ruins the freedom of zombies. Every game ends the same with you exfilling, and it is just so boring to me. I've exfilled so many times now. Every time it's the same, and it doesn't feel intense. It just feels so relaxed and easy. It just feels so boring. Every game I've played has felt almost the same, so repetitive, and that's the problem. Because of the way that this mode is designed, where it is an extraction shooter mode, where basically when you exfil, any items you have in your rucksack will be brought with you into your future games, and you can also bring your weapons into future games. So for example, you can exfil with different perk schematics, and then you can spawn in with them in a future game, or different ammo mods, or ether tools so that you can upgrade your weapons immediately, or Ethereum crystals so that you're able to pack a bunch of your weapons immediately. However, as it currently stands, there's a cap on acquisitions of just 10, which is nowhere near enough. Now, there is a second system, which is the schematics crafting, and basically these are permanent rewards that you are able to obtain. And this is the big thing with Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, because you can grind these out, and basically you can get permanent upgrades to spawn in with Pack-a-Punch, to spawn in with perks, to spawn in with ammo mods, to spawn in with a ray gun or a Wonderwolf DG2. Now, in order to actually find these schematics in the game, they are quite difficult because they are quite a rare spawn, and you can get them from strongholds and also fortresses and just completing the contracts. However, the schematics are limited to the different tiers, so you can only unlock certain schematics in each of the tiers when you are completing the contracts. And overall, this process just seems very, very tedious. It seems like people are just grinding out the missions over and over again. They're just doing the same thing over and over again, especially the cargo one, and to me that is just a very tedious grind. However, they're very rare, and it's going to take quite some time for you to be able to obtain all of these, and they are RNG based, like I said, as to which ones you actually manage to obtain. So I do like the idea of having these upgrades that you can bring into future games, but because it is RNG based, it doesn't really seem that good to me. Now, to balance these, they have a cooldown on them. For example, I believe you can only use the ray gun once every 2 days, and for the ammo mods, it has a 3-hour countdown, which means you're only able to bring it into a game once every 3 hours. And I think this is good. This is a way to balance them, because obviously you would just be too overpowered, and it would remove a lot of the progress of the mode if you could just spawn in with a ray gun every single game, or spawn in with a load of perks every single game. You won't be able to do all of them, of course, because there is that limit, but it's nice that you're at least able to do it often enough to where if you ever want to do a specific challenge in DMZ, you will be able to have everything. But the problem is, it just takes so long to be able to unlock all of these things, and I think that Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, like I said, is just very boring. So you need to grind the mode a lot to be able to have good enough loot in your games so that you can go into the tier 3 zone often to increase your chances of finding these schematics. But the problem is the core gameplay is so boring that it'll just take so long to grind all of these out. And I'm sure the mode would be a lot more fun when you are able to spawn in with all of these, because then you can go straight into the tier 3 zone and you can be tackling things straight away. But as it currently is, like I said, by the time you're ready to go into the tier 3 zone, it's time to exfil, because the tier 3 zone is so difficult, and if you are not prepared, you will die. So yeah, I really think they need more acquisition slots for one, so that you're able to bring more items into future games that you exfil with. And I do kind of like this permanent upgrade system. However, as opposed to it being like an extraction shooter, I wish there was a direct way to unlock all of these things. I have been saying for ages that Trek need to have more side Easter eggs with actual worthwhile rewards, because it feels like a lot of the side Easter eggs we got in Cold War Zombies, and some even in Vanguard, you would do this tedious thing and then what you would get at the end wasn't really worth it. And I always put forth the idea of permanent upgrades, and would it not be so cool if there was an Easter egg on the map that would be quite difficult, but it would guarantee you a ray gun schematic at the end that you could then use once every 2 days to spawn in with that cooldown. That would be awesome, as opposed to you getting it via RNG luck and then exfilling with it. Now, you are also able to use these schematics when you are in the game and it will spawn in the game itself. However, don't do that. Definitely just stash it and then exfil so that you're able to keep it forever on a cooldown, of course. So yeah, I really wish there was a direct way to earn all of these things, because then you would know exactly what to grind to unlock all of this stuff. But right now, like I was saying before, Modern Warfare 3 Zombies is a sandbox mode, but it's not a sandbox mode like Outbreak was, where there was still a bit of a clear objective. There is no clear objective, so you don't know what direct path you want to take if you want to get all of these things. You can increase your chances and luck of getting this stuff, but there's not a set way to go about it. And a lot of people have been arguing in defense of Modern Warfare 3 Zombies that these permanent upgrades add a new layer to zombies, because it removes that annoying aspect of jumping into zombies and having to repeat the same process to get all of your perks, to do the side Easter eggs, to get the wonder weapons, etc. You can jump in with this stuff already. But Infinite Warfare Zombies already kind of solved that problem with the super Easter egg, where you could spawn in with perks, pack a bunch of weapons, etc. straight out of the box. And like I said, there's no reason that they can't still have a similar system where you can have these permanent upgrades on a cooldown without the need to exfil with them, and they just be permanent upgrades, and without them even needing to be a part of a DMZ hybrid. They could totally introduce this kind of stuff into a round-based experience or a standard traditional Outbreak experience, where, like I said, there's just a side Easter egg to get yourself these items. But I do think that maybe if you go on an exfil streak, which apparently there is an exfil streak planned in the future, that will give you some rewards, so that should help out with jumping in and playing. But I do think they should have something where the cooldown is reduced if you successfully exfil, and it gets reduced every single time you exfil to speed up that process, because that way it's still keeping you playing the game in the hopes of then eventually not having a cooldown and greatly reducing it. But I guess the thing is with the schematics is you can craft them at the end of the cooldown, and you can just keep crafting them and building them up in your schematics. Even on a day when you don't play the game, you can just hop on just to be able to craft the schematics when the cooldown is over, so that when you do play it in the future, you'll have many of them built up. For example, many ray guns. They do have free perk Easter eggs in the game, and all of these are really fun, simple to do, and I do think the perks are worthwhile rewards, which is a massive improvement on, I think, a lot of the past Easter eggs. For example, there was one in Firebase C where it would give free jump pads, but it was a very tedious thing you had to do with your footstep movements. I can't remember the exact steps, but it was very tedious. However, it would just give you free jump pads in that one game. There's no way someone's going to do this every game they jump in. If it gave you permanent free jump pads in all future games, then it would be worth it. And that's what I want to see moving forward. There definitely needs to be more permanent upgrades that are achieved by doing an Easter egg. They had very simple Easter eggs for the free perks, but they can totally do more complicated ones as long as they are permanent. Now, speaking of perks, right now, I think the perks just are not good enough in this game. To me, it seems. I haven't managed to get all 9 in a game once yet, but I think the max I've had in a game is 7, and to me, you just don't really feel that powerful. I really think that they need to add perk upgrades similar to what we had in Cold War Zombies. However, I think they shouldn't have it as a system you upgrade in game. I think it should be exactly like how it's done in Cold War Zombies, where via exfilling, or I guess just surviving for longer, you will gain Ethereum crystals in the game that you can then upgrade your perks with permanently in all future games. That needs to be in this game, in my opinion. For example, stamina up, you just don't run fast enough at all compared to fully upgraded stamina up in Cold War Zombies. And when you're in the tier 2 or the tier 3 zone, many of the zombies are running faster than you, even with stamina up. And it's like, why is that even the case? It's so annoying. So yeah, I definitely think they need to add perk upgrades in this game, and I hope we get them back in COD 2024 Zombies. That was the best thing we got in Cold War Zombies, and then they added perk upgrades upgrades in Vanguard zombies, but they weren't as good, and that was done via an in-game system where you just had to rebuy the perks over and over again. They need to bring them back just as a standard crystal tier upgrade system in this game, especially for stamina. I think it would also make the mode a lot easier, and again, it would give you a direct way to actually grind the mode, giving you a set path so that you're able to survive in that tier 3 zone. Because right now, like I said, the only way you're going to be able to go into that tier 3 zone often is grinding out all of these different schematics, especially on solo. So speaking of solo, like I said, I have played a decent amount with other people and a decent amount with solo, and this mode is by far more fun with other people, and that's the problem. It seems like that is the only real way you can enjoy this mode, is with friends. Now, with Outbreak and Cold War Zombies, it was way more enjoyable with other people, but you could still get a decent amount of enjoyment out of playing solo. I think that this mode is quite difficult in general, and it's especially a lot more difficult if you are playing on solo. And it's not like solo is super difficult. It's definitely manageable and it's definitely doable. However, it is significantly harder than with other people. I definitely think there needs to be some measures in place to make it a more similar experience than when you are with other people, whether that be the contracts being a bit easier, whether you do dealing a bit more damage, whether you spawn with a self-revive, little tweaks like that just make it a bit more seamless for solo and on the same level as playing with other people. Now, yes, you can just stay in the outskirts and do your thing, but that just gets boring and repetitive very quickly, unless you just want to grind camos and level up weapons. I want to jump straight into the action, be taking out bosses and stuff like that quickly. I want to do all of that in one game. I don't want to have to play a billion different games to exfil freaking items just so I can hop into a future game to be able to finally do the thing I wanted to do a billion games ago. And this is exactly what I said in my rant when Modern Warfare 3 Zombies was revealed. I don't like this extraction shooter loot style of gameplay where you bring stuff into future games. I just want to be focused on the one game I am playing right now. For example, if I've never played this game before, when I jump in for the first time, I expect to be able to do everything in that game. That's how Zombies has always been. It's always been an endless survival mode. This isn't an endless survival mode, and that's especially true on solo. Now, it's not even true solo because you can't play offline, so a lot of people are complaining about that right now, and yeah, it's just way less enjoyable if you're playing solo than with other people. It's definitely a lot more fun with other people, but even with other people, I find this mode extremely boring, so I don't know what to do, honestly. This mode really isn't for me. I don't even know how people enjoy extraction shooters. I just don't really see the point in it. The need to constantly exfil all of the time, and your game not feeling secluded and like it's one game because you've always got to be thinking about future games and past games. It's just so frustrating to me, and I don't understand it, really. I just don't. And yeah, for solo, it's just going to be a lot more difficult for you. I think solo players will really not enjoy this a lot more than people playing with others. Now, of course, you can randomly matchmake with other people, but from my experience playing with people with the random matchmaking, it's kind of hard, you know, everyone's kind of just off doing their own thing. It's hard to be connected and together. You want to play with your friends, really. And of course, you can also choose to just play by yourself and not fill your squad, but it just feels so empty, and it is a lot more difficult when playing solo. They definitely need to work on somehow balancing it. I wish there was a way to just play completely solo, no other players on the team, and it just be balanced just for you without having to balance the game around many people on the game. Because when you're on solo, all the zombies just end up running for you, and it's just so much harder to do the contracts, and especially to go into the higher zones and to get enough points, etc. And speaking of matchmaking, another thing I don't like about Modern Warfare 3 Zombies is right now there's 24 players max on a game, but squads start off with a max of only 3 players. However, you can assimilate in the game to have a max of 6 players, so you can merge with other players from other squads and you can bring players over. But I just don't understand why you can't just spawn in with 6 players immediately, or even at least 4 players. 3 is just such an odd number. Most friend groups at least play with 4 players. It doesn't make sense to just have 3. People have been wanting a 6-player zombie squad for a very long time, and we are finally able to, but you're not actually able to spawn in with that full squad. Ideally, now that we're able to play with 6 players on a team, we would think they would allow you to just be able to do that by default, and it would also help the ease of access for the mode, because it would be so much easier if you could just spawn in with 6 players. And like I said, this mode right now is quite difficult. It's a very grind heavy mode, and I think being able to play with 6 players from the get-go would just make things a little bit easier. It would be so much fun jumping in with a full squad of 6 players. You could get stuff done so much quicker and so much easier, and just have so much fun bantering with everyone instead of being restricted to only 2 friends that you're able to jump in with. I don't understand the point of them finally upping the squad limit to 6, but then not actually allow you to jump in with 6. I guess they felt like having all of those extra teammates would make it so much easier, but so what? It would make it a lot more fun as well, and also would be less excluding for your additional friends. Less people people would get left out. You know, right now the grind to just build up these acquisitions is just so boring to me, and I really struggle to see the point in grinding this mode. Now, the next big problem with Modern Warfare 3 Zombies is it feels lifeless. It has no personality, no uniqueness. It just feels like yet another generic shooter. And this is really sad because Call of Duty has become ever so more commodified over the years. It's probably the most commodified and casual shooter on the market. And it's always been kind of embarrassing to say you play Call of Duty religiously or you're a fan of Call of Duty. I think a lot of gamers tend to shun people who just play Call of Duty mainly because it's such a generic game and the games are so similar from each other every single year, and like I said, it is so commodified. However, I've always felt like Zombies has always stood out amongst the rest of the modes. Whenever the multiplayer has been such a generic experience and not really changed year on year, Zombies has always had such an intricate and detailed storyline. The Zombies maps have always been so beautiful with such unique atmospheres. Diving deep into the lore requires so much intelligence. Zombies, I feel like, historically speaking, has required a lot of intelligence because the storyline was so complicated and because doing the Easter eggs as well required so much brain power. Zombies has always kind of felt like the more intelligent, or by far the most intelligent mode. It's always felt like the thing that the developers put the most love and passion into. It's always the thing that, like I said, stood out amongst the rest of the Call of Duty garbage. However, I feel like over recent years, slowly Zombies' identity and atmosphere has been eroding away. Now, I guess it kind of started with Black Ops 3 Zombies when they introduced Gobblegums. That was the first element of pay-to-win aspects. Then every single game started having zombies with the other developers working on them as well, and then it really felt like the mode was being commodified and it was losing its uniqueness. And then come Cold War Zombies. Now, I'm a big fan of Cold War Zombies. I thought it was a big rejuvenation to the mode, but one of the biggest problems with Cold War Zombies was that the maps just didn't have as much identity as the past Zombies experiences and were a lot blander. They felt a lot more similar to a multiplayer or Warzone, and Outbreak suffered with this problem as well. Now, whilst Cold War Zombies suffered with these issues, it was made up for the fact that I think the gameplay was really solid. And whilst some of the round-based maps, especially I think the first two, D Machine and Firebase C, lacked identity and really felt like multiplayer maps in many ways aesthetically, there were still many aspects that were very unique visually. For example, the Dark Ether on D Machine, or Mauer de Toten and also the Forsaken both felt like they had more unique atmospheres than the previous ones. So Treyarch were clearly trying to listen to feedback. Now, whilst they did have more unique atmospheres, they still weren't as unique as what we had in Black Ops 3 or Black Ops 4 Zombies, for example. And in terms of Outbreak, a big complaint people had, well, it was just on a multiplayer maps, or the cancelled Euro Mountains map, should I say, that was supposed to be a Battle Royale experience, a sequel to Blackout. So the atmosphere wasn't as good and unique to Zombies. And whilst that was true, I think Outbreak did have somewhat more of an identity. You know, you had the dragons, for example, as a side objective, or you had the giant Ethereum crystals. There was many things that just gave it that little tint of Treyarch magic. Now, moving over to Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, it feels like it has somehow even less identity and atmosphere than Outbreak, and Outbreak suffered from that immensely. Now, they have reskinned Urzikstan a bit to distinguish it from the Warzone variant, so it has a different atmosphere, it's kind of at dusk, it has different lighting, and it does look better than the Warzone variant and slightly more Zombies-esque, but it's not good enough. The map feels bland and generic, like I was saying before. This is by far the most generic Zombies experience in terms of its identity we have ever gotten, and it's just sad how Zombies has gotten to this point where Zombies used to feel so different to the multiplayer and now I guess the Warzone offerings, and now it just feels all the same. It doesn't feel anything different to it. This mode just is Warzone Zombies, basically. It's played on the Warzone map, and it doesn't even really have many unique things in terms of its atmosphere to make it feel like a Treyarch Zombies experience. If we look at the HUD as well, it's the exact same HUD as the other modes. We used to have unique HUDs for Zombies, and that helped immerse you in the mode. So yeah, I just feel like this mode really has no identity. It is lacking atmosphere so much, and I think the biggest problem with the mode's atmosphere is that whilst yes, Treyarch have improved on the Warzone counterpart to give it a more Zombies-esque feel, it doesn't feel distinct to Treyarch Zombies. It feels like a Zombies atmosphere that could be any zombie shooter game on the market. Whether it be DayZ, Outlast, literally there are so many other Zombies games out there that have a very similar dusty kind of post-apocalyptic vibe that this mode gives. Whereas Treyarch Zombies, either it's gone for the horror aspects that they've done in the past, they've mixed in Lovecraftian elements, Greek mythology, so many things to give it a distinct flavor that no other Zombies game on the market replicates. points. This could have been made by any Call of Duty developer or any game developer for that matter, not even associated with Call of Duty, and you really wouldn't be able to tell. I definitely think probably at some point this mode was planned to just be called Warzone Zombies, and maybe at that point they thought they could release it free to play, because it makes more sense for this mode to be called Warzone Zombies because it feels so much like Warzone and pretty much has all of the elements from Warzone, such as the armor and the exact same looting system, but unfortunately it's been made a part of that full $70 game. Like I said, I think we would be critiquing this very differently if it did end up just being Warzone Zombies and free to play. I would be totally fine with what this mode offers as a free to play experience. I think it's definitely palatable as a free to play experience and would get a lot more players in at the same time. But as a $70 experience, I don't think it's really suited, especially when there are many Zombies fans that will just buy this for zombies, so they won't even really touch the other modes. And there's also the storyline doesn't help with its identity either. It's such a boring story so far. Of course, the different characters such as Ravenov and Soap talk to you on the radios, but they don't really say much of interest. It seems like in Cold War Zombies, in Outbreak for example, they talked a lot more often. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but it just felt that way. Also, the operators that you play as, of course, I don't think we're ever going to get a set crew again, unfortunately, for zombies, but the operators even seem to say way less than they did in Vanguard and Cold War Zombies. They almost don't talk at all, and the storyline that is being told here in the acts doesn't really seem that interesting. I've posted all of the cutscenes on my channel, and the two interesting things are that A, Samantha Maxis is somehow still alive in the Dark Ether, so that's really exciting, and what that means for COD 2024 Zombies is exciting. Soap is now in Zombies. Of course, this is a prequel, that's why he's still alive. I don't really find that interesting though, to be honest. Ravenov, you know, doesn't really play much role. He's kind of just become a generic operator talking in this. It's not like a Richtofen character, for example. So overall, I think the story has started off kind of well. It's got my interest piqued a little bit with that cutscene, but the problem is there's no main Easter egg right now. So without a main Easter egg, it takes away from the immersion of the map a lot, and also the storyline developments. Now, there are radios on the map to tell the story. However, I don't know how many there are, but I've only seen a couple on the map, and there seems to be hardly any. Now, the map is massive, so maybe there are a lot, and it's just so big it's hard to find, but on Outbreak, they had radios and intel almost all over the map. It felt like it was everywhere. There was so much lore and storyline to dive into, whereas with this, it feels like there's almost nothing there. There's very few radios, and I have barely even listened to any of them, and I want to, but barely anyone even cares for them to record them or post them anywhere because the storyline just seems quite generic. Like I said, the only interesting things are how it connects to COD 2024 Zombies, and hopefully the story gets better post-launch. Right now that Samantha's back, obviously this is huge in terms of the storyline, so that's got my ears pricked, but that's about it. Just to interject, since recording this video, I have managed to collect pretty much all of the radios. I think I'm missing a couple, and I've uploaded all of them on my channel, and there's only really a few that are integral to the storyline. Most of them don't really tell much interesting, but I think the main problem with the intel is not necessarily the quantity, because there's about 20 minutes of them that I've found so far, and they'll be adding many more post-launch, of course. In fact, there's loads that have been found in the files that just aren't in the map yet, but because the map is so large, they feel so far apart, and I just know that the general community is not going to listen to these radios at all because they probably don't even notice the majority of them. You'll stumble along them every now and again, but most people are not going to listen to them in-game, because even if you try to, most of the time zombies are attacking you anyway, so you can't really listen to them clearly. And it was good in Cold War Zombies where you could collect them and then listen to them in the main menu. I don't know why they haven't brought that back, because so many people are going to miss out on the story. I seem to be the only person who's posted all, or at least the majority of the radios so far, and my video only has like 5,000 or 6,000 views, and there's millions of people playing this game, so there's probably only, you know, tens of thousands of people that have actually listened to every single radio, if that, and that's extremely low. 99.9% of the audience is not even listening to the story or even cares enough to bother looking up a YouTube video to listen to them all, for example. And yeah, I just don't understand why there's no Easter egg on launch and why this keeps happening. Why is this now just becoming a common trend for them to drip feed these goddamn Easter eggs? Because now seasonal content, well, the marketing for it is just going to be, well, there's a new Easter egg, and it's like, shouldn't that have launched on launch? What's going to come in season 1 exactly? Because I don't think it's the main Easter egg. We know there's more missions coming, maybe some more cutscenes for the story, but we don't know about the main Easter egg right now. Now, the next problem with this mode, and this is again another thing that I mentioned within my rant initially, is that there are humans in this mode, and just like I expected, they are annoying. I don't know why there are goddamn humans. I get why Terminus outcomes are on the map in terms of a storyline, but in terms of a gameplay perspective, why do they need to be there? This is supposed to be zombies. I understand that it's been merged with DMZ, but But if you want to fight humans, you can play the original DMZ. Why do humans need to infect zombies? They don't belong here. Now, they are not as annoying as I was expecting, but they are still unnecessary. Why are they there? Why? And the problem is the humans aren't just on the outskirts, they are also in some of the strongholds and also in some of the fortresses that you need to defeat in order to grind out the schematics. And there are big human bosses in these camps and these encampments that you need to defeat, like I said, to grind out these schematics. So they are an integral part of the gameplay that you need to fight. Why do we need to fight these human bosses? If we wanted to do that, we can play DMZ. It's the exact same as DMZ. Why does that need to be in this mode? Why can't they just have all of these fortresses just with zombie bosses, big zombie bosses? That would be way more enjoyable. It's always been so annoying when humans have been in zombies like they were in Exo Zombies, or for example, when different zombie types have been able to shoot you, it's been annoying. For example, the Mangler or the Panzer Soldat. But whilst they have been annoying, they were still balanced. They couldn't just constantly spray fire at you like humans can. Humans do not belong in zombies. Keep them out of zombies. Why are they here? Well, like I said, we can play DMZ if they don't belong in this mode at all. The only fun thing is you can take them and force them into a crowd of zombies to shoot them, but that's about it. Humans just do not need to be in this zombies mode, period. And I've seen some people arguing that they like the humans in Modern Warfare 3 Zombies because it makes the map feel more alive, which was a problem with Outbreak, where there was lots of empty space, but that's already kind of been solved with Modern Warfare 3 Zombies with the fact that there are so many more zombies on the map than there was in Outbreak, and also there's other ways to make the map feel more alive without needing to incorporate human AI enemies. They can fill up those blank spaces with more side objectives, or more zombie bosses, or more different zombies orientated strongholds. They don't necessarily need to be humans, and they could also incorporate humans on the map in ways that don't actually involve you fighting them. For example, there has actually been some leaks for stuff that's coming in the future, and these are good ways to incorporate humans. For example, there's going to be different humans on the map that you will have to bring to an expo point and rescue. Similar to Outbreak, there's going to be a chopper that will spawn in from Terminus Outcomes that we'll have to shoot down, and it'll drop some high value loot in a cargo. There's so many ways to have humans on the map that don't actually need to involve fighting them yourself. In fact, they could have humans that do fight you, however, they only fight you when you instigate it first. Now, since recording this video, they have nerfed the mercs in the map, so they don't destroy your armor as quickly and stuff like that, but they're still annoying to deal with. They're not the worst thing in the world, but like I said, they still just feel unnecessary. They just feel like something that's dragging the mode down as opposed to a plus. And some people do like them, but for me, I just want my zombies experience to just be zombies, and I'll always have that sentiment. It's fine, of course, if you personally enjoy them, but for myself and many other players, it deters them from the mode. They're not overwhelming since they're not on the full map, but for some contracts, they are there, and they aren't avoidable enough since you need to be able to progress to do strongholds and to do fortresses, so it's not like you can choose to completely avoid them and never interact with them. And of course, this is the biggest problem with Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, is that there's severe lagging and crashing issues. I have crashed so many times and experienced severe lag, and partially it is my internet, but partially it's also their servers, which are extremely poor. My game has completely frozen many times, and whilst they have been improving things to fix these issues, it's still not good enough. And unfortunately, because this is an extraction shooter, you just lose all of these things if your game crashes, even though it isn't your fault, and they definitely need to incorporate some sort of system to know when your game crashes. And that's why there needs to be a proper solo option as well, because right now, if something forces you to leave the game and you can't help it, there's no way to pause, and if you can't preempt to get onto a part of the map where the zombies don't attack you, there's no way to counter when this happens. And I don't see why there can't be a proper solo option in this mode either. There is no reason you need to have all of the other players on the map. Surely you should be able to just boot in solo, have a pause option, there's no other players on the map, the mode would still function just as it normally does. That would help out so much. So that's pretty much all of my concerns with this mode. So if we reflect on my initial rant and what I was worried about when this mode was revealed, I think that almost everything I was concerned about has come true. The first concern was that I'm worried that Treyarch are going to be forced away from COD 2024 Zombies to work on yet another mediocre zombies project, when they should just be focusing on that game, tarnishing their reputation even more. That point is true. The next point, like I just mentioned, I was worried for humans being in zombies, they don't belong here. Once again, that point is true. The next point I was concerned about is the purpose of this mode, the point of this mode. I don't understand the point of it, of just playing over and over again, exfilling over and over again. It gets so repetitive just to be able to grind out out so you can do things in future games. You are only able to go into a tier 3 zone, and you are only able to enter certain fortresses and defeat certain bosses on the map if you have good enough loot, which you're only likely to have if you've played prior games in exfil with them. Again, I don't understand the point of that. I just want to jump in and play, focus on that one game. I don't want to be thinking about, oh, I need to collect these items so I can have it for a future game, instead of using it in that game. Oh, I need to bring these items into this game now so I can do this thing, but I'm only bringing these items into this game so I can unlock this thing for this thing so I can bring it to another game. Do you understand how annoying this is? Why do people like these extraction shooter modes? I don't get it. I don't get it. I just want to jump into a round-based zombies experience, or an outbreak-like experience, or any zombies experience for that matter, and just jump in into play with a clear, simple objective. Why on earth is this a thing that people enjoy? I don't get it at all. I literally do not get it, and it sucks to hear that Trek probably were working on a proper Outbreak sequel that wasn't going to have a time limit of 60 minutes, and yet they changed it to merge it with DMZ. So yeah, that's the next concern that I was right about within my video talking about the mode, the 60-minute countdown. We are all playing it right now, and everyone is complaining about the 60-minute countdown. Why is this here? Like I said, it feels like by the time you're finally prepared and ready to go, you feel like you are finally getting into the game, it's starting to just get a little bit enjoyable and less repetitive. Oh, then you need to exfil. Oh, it's the same goddamn thing over and over. I really like the acquisitions part of the mode, and you know, having these permanent upgrades, but they're on a cooldown. However, at the same time, the grind to actually get there isn't enjoyable, and I think there should just be a direct way to earn them. And another worry about these acquisitions is that they might go pay to win, because DMZ went pay to win. They started basically adding self-revives and stuff like that as permanent upgrades, and basically you know that you're basically going to spawn in with acquisitions by buying bundles in Modern Warfare 3. You'll be able to spawn in with Juggernog just for paying money. You'll be able to spawn in with an ammo mod just for paying money, etc. You'll be able to spawn in with a pack-a-punch or an upgraded weapon just for buying a bundle, etc. instead of grinding out the schematics and actually playing the game. And the gameplay to actually grind out the schematics isn't fun. So basically you are trapped between two sides. Either you can grind the game and play the boring mode to grind out the schematics, or you can bypass it and pay. Both options aren't great, and it is actually confirmed there are pay for advantage bundles coming in the future now. And while some are saying they're not a big deal, you can just choose not to buy them, and it's a PvE mode anyway, so there's no PvP, so it's not pay to win. At the same time, you shouldn't really be supporting any egregious Activision business decisions. You've already paid full price $70 for the game. You shouldn't then need additional payments to skip part of the in-game progress. And I'm sure the mode, like I said before, will be so much more fun once you've unlocked all of these schematics so you can jump into a game. And I like how it's balanced with the cooldown. Some people are annoyed at the cooldown, they think there shouldn't be a cooldown, but personally I think that it is necessary, because you would just be way too overpowered being able to always jump in with a ray gun or a wonder warp or loads of perks every single game, or pack a bunch of weapons every single game. So I think that this is good in that sense. And speaking of, there are some people complaining right now that when you exfil, you don't get to keep your perks or your pack a punch or upgraded weapons to bring into future games. You lose all of your perks and your guns are reset to their base variants with no pack a punch. Personally, I'm okay with this if these permanent schematics to unlock the crystals to upgrade your weapons and to unlock the perks, etc. were easier to obtain. If they were, then this wouldn't be as big of an issue, because I understand it would remove kind of the point of the mode, which, like I said, I don't even really understand the point of this exfil shooter, whatever generic shooter freaking mode that's completely destroying zombies, but it is what it is. It would destroy whatever they're trying to do with this mode if you could just bring your perks and your pack-a-punch weapons into future games. Now, with Tombstone, if you bleed out and die with it, if you go up to your Tombstone icon, you will be able to then collect all of your perks and items you had from your prior game. So this is actually a way to bypass it, but then it means that you're not able to exfil to bring any schematics, to bring any of your acquisitions or anything you've gotten to bring into future games, but then it will allow you to spawn in with your perks. So this is a way to bypass it that some people are doing right now, but it is what it is. Either option isn't great. Like I said, I don't really get this mode. And finally, the other thing I was worried about in that rant video was that this mode would just lack identity, lack atmosphere, and that zombies was just becoming commodified. It was just feeling like a token, an add-on, and it wasn't feeling like a unique experience. And again, this is the problem with this mode. It doesn't feel like a zombies mode. It doesn't feel like Treyarch made this. It just feels like yet another tag-on of Warzone. And like I said, the graphics and aesthetics are just so boring and bland. Or the map is literally just browns and yellows, and that's it. It's just so bland and boring. At least with Cold War Zombies, the maps were vibrant. I understand the engine is better now with Modern Warfare 3, so graphically they have stronger fidelity, they have more capabilities in terms of an engine perspective, but in terms of an art style perspective, it's a lot more boring than what we even got in Cold War Zombies. And Cold War Zombies wasn't great by any means in that department. That was probably one of the weakest Treyarch Zombies experiences in terms of atmosphere and uniqueness and identity. identity, and now we have a new winner with Modern Warfare 3 Zombies by far being the worst with almost no identity at all. I could not tell Treyarch made this mode. It really just seems like Infinity Ward made it or any developer made it. It doesn't seem like anything unique to Treyarch, and Treyarch have always had a very distinct identity. I could pick up a mode without knowing Treyarch made it, and I could tell that it was made by them just on the way that they do things. But this mode, it could be Infinity Ward, it could be anyone for that matter. It doesn't have a unique HUD, it doesn't have anything, it just looks so bland. So yeah, I think this mode is just such a slow grind to build up all of this stuff, and it's just so boring, and you have very limited inventory. There's so much random stuff that you can pick up around the map, and you can sell for some money at the buy stations, which again, you're just running around the map doing freaking things forever. Ugh. And that's fine, but it just seems like there's so much random loot that doesn't even give you that much money. Why is it just filling up all of your space? So yeah, overall, I think that this mode is very boring. I'm not sure how the community is going to react, and yeah, that's the problem with this mode, is that Zombies fans don't seem to love it, DMZ fans don't seem to love it. Now, there are some people who do enjoy it, but they're not blown away by the mode. They don't think it's the craziest mode ever. They're not having super amounts of fun with it, and you have to understand, with every single game, there is a wide spectrum of a player base, so you're always going to have some people that are crazy fanatics that will love literally anything. However, I am seeing almost none of that for this mode. At most, some people say, I'm having a good time, it's fun, but they're not like, wow, this is so much fun, I want to play it non-stop every single day, this is crazy, like we have seen with past Zombies experiences. So yeah, overall, Treyarch could have not developed this, another developer could have, I wouldn't be able to tell. The mode is boring, there's not really much point to it. Treyarch shouldn't have worked on this mode should have never released, they should have just been working on COD 2024 Zombies, and that's that, and I really hope that mode is good. So round-based fans, that's what you were waiting for right now. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think. Now, in terms of what videos I'm going to make on the mode, because I do find it quite boring, I will continue playing it, and there is a chance, of course, it can get better and better with updates. DMZ wasn't that great, it got way better with updates. Outbreak wasn't that great as well, it got way better with updates. So there's a chance this could get better. The success of this mode is really determined on how they handle it post-launch, but I don't understand as well why there's so many features from Outbreak that are not present in this mode. For example, a grapple gun would make it so much easier to get around the map. That would solve that problem a lot. There's so many other different side things you could do around the map, such as something basic like fishing in Outbreak. So many things like that should be in this mode as well, so that it makes the map feel more alive and just there's more to do, and for some reason that's absent. So I think right now I'm going to be covering any Easter eggs and any storylines, since I am interested in the story and how it connects mainly to COD 2024 Zombies, and this will tease that a lot, so that's what I'll be covering. But right now, it's not really that much fun. Like I said, it's not the worst mode in the world, it's just okay at best, and Treyarch need to be better than okay. They need to be masters. They shouldn't just be releasing something that's generic and boring, and any developer could have released this. It has no identity. Treyarch have always had a very distinct identity for Zombies that is set apart from any other Zombies game. This feels like it could be any other Zombies game on the market. Anyways, thank you for watching the video. Make sure to subscribe if you're not here for latest and greatest Call of Duty news and information. So anyways, thank you for watching, and bye.